According to HealthyChildren.org, there are close to 3 million cases of child abuse and neglect involving about 5.5 million children that are reported each year. In this speech, I'm going to be talking to you about what child abuse is, how to spot the signs that a child is being abused, how to report a child abuse, as well as the long-term effects. Psychology Today defines child abuse as something that is emotionally, physically, or sexually harmful to a child, as well as neglecting a child. Physical abuse would be burning, biting, or beating a child, breaking the child's bones, or anything else that would physically harm a child on purpose. Verbal abuse would be belittling or threatening a child. Sexual abuse would be exposing a minor to sexual activity that they cannot consent to. And neglect would be withholding necessities, affection, or medical care from a child. Psychology Today defines the signs of abuse as the signs of physical abuse are injury that cannot be explained. The signs of sexual abuse is fearful behavior, genital pain, if the child has a sexually transmitted disease, genital bleeding, and extreme sexual behavior that is inappropriate for the child's age. The signs of emotional abuse would be a change in the child's self-confidence, abnormal fears that the child has, increased nightmares, or attempts for the child to run away. And the signs of neglect would be a child's failure to gain weight, especially if the child is a baby, desperately affectionate behavior, a big appetite, and stealing food. There are different effects of child abuse. HelpGuide.org states that many abusive parents were abused as a child. However, not all victims of child abuse will grow up to abuse their children. There are a large population of parents that were abused as a child that want to protect their children from that kind of abuse. They state that other effects may include lack of trust, trouble keeping their emotions regulated, and difficulties in future relationships that they may have. HealthyChildren.org states that being abused as a child may harm the child's self-worth or emotional well-being. They also state that as they get older, the child may abuse drugs or alcohol, develop depression, or result to suicidal, withdrawn, or violent behavior. Child abuse can also result in death. According to the New York Post, on October 31st, 2018, jurors found Shaquan Taylor guilty of second-degree murder of his daughter, Nyla Lewis, on June 18, 2017. She was 16 months old, and her father beat her until she was put in a coma for 5 days and later died. She suffered, according to medical professionals, of a fractured skull, bruising all over her body, and loss of oxygen to the brain. Also, according to ABC News, a 1-year-old baby boy, Amir Rosario, died from child abuse on November 2nd, 2018, in Chicago, Illinois. The police haven't released that many facts about this case since it's still an open case since it happened on this past Friday, but there are cases where child abuse does result in death for the child. So, child abuse is not a good thing, and we need to work on reporting it and preventing it in the first place, and here's how you can do that. According to the United States Department of Health and Human Services websites, the Children's Bureau has multiple programs to prevent child abuse from happening in the first place, such as the Child Abuse Prevention and Treatment Act, Community-Based Child Abuse Prevention Grants, and the Children's Justice Acts. Although these aren't things that you can really get involved in unless you want to donate to something, there are things that you can do to get involved in Denton County. You can volunteer at the Child's Advocacy Center of Denton County. It's a nonprofit organization in Denton where they advocate for child abuse and getting those children out of those abusive homes. You can volunteer there, or you can donate there. There's actually another speech class at UNT that my roommate is a part of that is volunteering and collecting canned foods for the Children's Advocacy Center. So that's a great way to get involved. And you can also help by just reporting signs. If you see signs of child abuse, report it to a local authority or call the child abuse hotline for the United States. The number for that is 1-800-422-4453. It's 1-800-422-4453. And please, if you see any signs of child abuse, report it and make sure that the child is safe and away from the home. You don't necessarily always have to go to the person who is supposedly abusing the child to be involved in child abuse. You can do it through local authorities or other things. You can take the child to the doctor and have the doctor perform a medical exam, which will hold, in a court case, the doctor can testify for the abused child, and they are required to report it to local authorities. You don't have to be directly involved. You can just report it and let someone else do their job, and you don't have to be involved, because you may be put in danger if you are directly involved, and if you just report it, then you will be in less danger. So we together need to work to put an end to child abuse, whether it be by donating to charities, reporting child abuse, or volunteering at the Children's Advocacy Center, because child abuse does lead to further mental trauma and can even lead to death, and it's not getting any better, and it's kind of getting worse as time goes on, and it's not being reported because people just brush it off, and that's the least thing that needs to happen.